Hi guys, this is Racer on Way with Innovative. This will be with Deku had Crazy Diamond, Part 5. Where we left off, Deku begins to enter the classroom of 1A, and the blue-haired kid begins to talk to Deku, telling him that he's a superior student to him. Deku basically looks at him and asks, what do you mean by that? The boy with the blue hair basically tells him, you basically saw through the test, knowing that there was a secret motive behind it. Now, before we can continue with the story, I want to change something about the previous part, especially how Deku and Uraraka got back to the starting point instead of just using a. Now, if you guys want an actual description of how it would actually look, just think of Deku holding on to Uraraka bridal style, while running off to the edge of the building. And when Deku reaches the edge, Crazy Diamond kicks as hard as he can, pushing Deku up to another building. Deku doing this over and over again until he got somewhere close to the starting gate. So yeah, I just wanted to change that up a bit. So right, let's get right back into the story. Deku basically looking at the blue-haired boy, basically telling him, I didn't know there was any hero points. I just did what I thought was right. Ida basically told him that's why you're such a great student. Instead of going for more points, you actually went to go help somebody else out. Someone who you were racing against for UA. Instead of leaving her alone, you decided to help her out. Deku tells him, I just did what any hero would do. Ida tells him that is true, but you're the only one who saw through the ruse and did it anyway. So still, you're a greater student. Before Deku could respond to that, someone taps him on the shoulder. Deku looks behind him and sees it's that brown-haired girl that he saved. Deku looks at her and says, oh hey, you're that floaty girl from the exams. What's your name? She basically looks a little flustered and basically said, well, my name is Uraraka. Deku tells her, alright, my name is Izuku. By the way, how's your ankle? She tells him, my ankle's fine. Anyway, how you think the school's gonna be, and who's our teacher? Uraraka and Deku continue having their conversation. Bakugo begins to look around the room, basically scoping out his classmates until he sees the door with a green-haired boy with his hair pushed back up. Bakugo's wondering why does this kid remind him of something that annoys him. So he begins to look at his face and he sees his green eyes and freckles. And he stares at his hair, basically seeing that Suzuku, that quirkless loser. Basically wondering how did he get in. While the whole class is talking, an orange bag begins to rise up from the ground and unzips itself, showing that it's Aizawa. Everyone looks at him and stops talking. Aizawa looks around the whole class saying, it took y'all 8 seconds for y'all to stop talking. That's not good. Aizawa grabs his bag and begins to pull out gym uniforms, basically telling him to put these on and meet me outside. They all grab the uniform and head into the changing room. At that, Mineta begins to look around and see the poster. Moving it, he sees a small hole inside the wall that's connecting their room to the girls' changing room. Deku tells him, I don't think you should do that. Besides, we might get in trouble, either from the girls or from the teacher. Mineta brushes Izuku's concern away, basically telling him it won't hurt to peek, and besides, how are they going to find out? While he's looking through the wall, an earjack sticks right out, poking him in the eye. Deku basically puts his hand on his nose, but he's telling him, well, I told him. After Mineta gets stabbed in the eye, Izuku wonders, should he heal him or not? On one hand, it can be an ally. On the other hand, let's just say he might get him into some situation he don't want to be in. Deku begins to think inside, basically telling himself, if the injury isn't serious, I'll just leave it be. Deku walks over to Mineta, basically asking him, let me see your eye. Mineta moves his hand out the way, showing his eye is perfectly fine. Deku tells him, well, alright, it's fine, but try not to do it again. Mineta begins to walk away from the hole. Deku gets closer to the hole, not close enough to get stabbed, but basically coming over, basically telling the girls in a loud tone, telling him, just to be clear, the other boys had nothing to do with it, it's just Mineta. Deku walks away from the hole, wondering if the girls got the message or not. After a few seconds, they all begin to head outside. Once they get outside, it all begins to explain what they're going to be doing. Deku gets to zone out, wondering why is Eraserhead here? Is he one of the new teachers, or has he been here? Once Aizawa's done talking, he throws Bakugo the ball, telling him that since you got first place, you go up first. Bakugo heads up and throws the ball, being the same score in canon. Someone basically in the crowd says this is going to be fun. Aizawa looks at the class saying, oh, it's fun. Okay. the person in last place is expelled. Someone in the crowd basically said, well, that's not fair. We worked so hard to get here. Aizawa tells them, well, life ain't fair. And it's your job as a hero to combat that unfairness. So until then, work hard. Deku tells them, well, we're not wrong. This job can literally kill us. At worst, it can kill some family members just because we want to save people. While the other tests are going on, Deku begins to think, with a couple of strategies, some allies, but my abilities, there's a low chance we'll lose. Even then we should get cocky. Now, when it comes to the 50-meter dash, he gets paired up with Bakugo. Bakugo begins to growl at Deku, but Deku basically shrugs him off. Once it begins, Deku begins to push himself like how he did in the exams. But when he was losing speed, he used his crazy diamond's hands to grip the ground and launch himself forward. After the race is done, they go towards the strength test. Deku begins to tie with the boy with the multiple arms. They begin to continue with the other test, Deku getting an average score. But the one thing on his mind is how is he going to trick Eraserhead, since he knows his quirk is erasing other people's quirk when he stares at them. Now, when it comes to him with a ball throw, and it's Deku's turn, he tries to throw the ball. Well, he pretends to throw the ball, but instead he barely throws it in the air right above his head. And he feels something staring at the back of his neck, or at least at the side of him. Deku looks to his side and sees that it's Aizawa, and he's using his quirk. Deku telling him he can't really turn off my stand, but I can definitely feel his quirk on me. I feel like he's trying to boil me alive with his eyes. After he sees that Aizawa begins to stop using his quirk, basically saying, alright, you can continue now. Deku begins to wonder, out of all the people, why is he trying to turn off my quirk right now? Maybe because he doesn't understand. He's trying to see if he can actually turn it off. That's probably one of the good reasons why. If I ask him, pretty sure he's not going to tell me really. Deku gets ready to throw the ball, using one of Crazy Diamond's arms to throw it, getting the same score as Bakugo. After that, Bakugo gets angry and begins to charge Deku, saying, how did you do that, you useless nerd? And before he reaches him, Aizawa grabs him. Before Aizawa can say anything, Deku runs up and punches him right in the nose. Without Crazy Diamond, just his own strength punching right in the nose, causing him to bleed. Before anyone can say anything, Deku shouts in Bakugo's face, saying, who's useless now, bitch? Before Bakugo can make a comeback, Aizawa tells him, do that again, I'll expel both of you on the spot. Deku tells him, I'm sorry. Me and him just have some bad history. And seeing him in that situation, I just had to take it. I'm sorry. Bakugo gets more angry, saying, that's a pretty cheap shot for a nerd like you. Deku looks at him and says, oh, when did you get a conscious? Before Bakugo can say anything, Deku tells him, alright, teach, I'm going to head back into the line. Sorry about that. Aizawa looks at Izuku and tells him, just get back in line and don't do it again. And he looks at Bakugo and tells them, as for you need to calm yourself down. After that, the audience will head back into the changing room while Bakugo goes sees the nurse. After that, when they begin to leave, Ida basically walks up to Deku telling him, you shouldn't have done that. Deku tells him, yeah, I know, but still, it's satisfying. Uraka comes up behind them, and before she said anything, Deku puts his hand on her mouth, saying, before you say anything else, what are you about to call me, Deku? She shakes her head, telling him, yeah. Deku removes his hand, telling her, well, Deku means useless, and he called me that since I couldn't really use my quirk when I was younger. She looks at him and tells him, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it meant like that. I thought it meant something else. I thought it meant like the cure, meaning you can do it. Deku looks at her and tells her thanks, but I'd rather be called something else. You can come up with something, right? She looks at him and tells him, yeah, it's gonna take a while, but I